Oh dear. Okay, so let's start at the hub then. So for this VOD, let's just say that the start time of this should be around 16 minutes in. Oh dear. So this is my central hub. This is basically one of the things you start with in the game and then build up as things go on. This is like your little starting area with a working bench, craft bench should I say, plus your hub where you can then go through the different milestones as I was just explaining just now. You can go all the way up to through the tiers, and each time to go up through a tier you have to create a certain amount of items, usually unique items, to then send up to the space elevator, which I've located over here. Originally my space elevator was located about here. When I first started, before I knew a bit of what I was doing, yeah, this probably looks like an absolute mess by the way, that's what I was talking about to everyone before I realised that I wasn't even broadcasting. That's part of the Christmas event by the way, so that's I left that there, I just kept it going. It's not doing anything now, but yeah, that's the Christmas event. Once I'd finished I connected all the trees that produce stuff to just send it to the sink to get more tokens. I'll talk about that in a minute when we go over to it. Yeah, I have a hypertube transport system which goes to my main portions of my different outposts that are around. Nothing too crazy, it's not very pretty. The station here I think is quite pretty, I think I did alright with that. But then once it goes off to places it just kind of, yeah, spaghetti. Anyway, there's a lot of things, as I was saying, that I've learned from other YouTubers' channels that I'll be implementing in my 1.0 playthrough, or at least trying to be a bit neater, a bit better at. Because when I was first doing this I was like, yeah, cool, I've done this really awesome, this is amazing, and I've seen what they've done and I'm like, yeah, now this looks pretty amateur. But yeah, things can only get better, right? Onwards and upwards, as they say, or as I say quite a lot. So what was I saying? So the train station, before I realised I wasn't even freaking broadcasting. Can't believe that. Probably going on for a whole 7 or 8 minutes without showing any pictures, just me jabbering away. So yeah, this train, it goes around to a few different places on my map at the moment. I've got my fluid production that's way over the back there. It's piping down oil, etc., and bringing it down to a production facility over there. Then it would come along and stop here, which would then, these were the last items I was making to progress through the tiers, which would then take these and then it would take them over to the, well, here comes the train now. So you can get a little, we'll have a little go on the train, shall we? Let's do that. The train's currently automated. It should stop here for a moment. It's putting its brakes on. So what we'll do is we'll just hop on board and I'll drive it. There's nothing to pick up here, so it's not going to do anything. It's currently docked. And then it would go off. Do I have to switch to... It says it's docking. I just got in it a bit too quick. Okay, that's better. Let's go with the train, now that I'm on board. The train, these monorails, I was about to say you might have seen those blueprints I was talking about earlier, but no, that blueprint design is over there. That's where we started, and then we ran over there just for catching up's sake. This is me experimenting with different kind of track design. I found a lot better designs online. Unlucky Mr. Flea, or Mrs. Flea, whoever you might be. But you get a nice little view here of the factory from there. We'll come back and get a better view in a minute. For now we're coming up to where the space elevator is. When I was building this I really wanted to come through this just because I thought that was a nice little centerpiece. The train comes along here. Bit of a showpiece there, not too much. Then it will stop here, it would take items out which would be deposited into the space elevator, which eventually, when it's full, you could then shoot those items off into space. I presume to a space station that's in orbit, which would then be a depot that would collect all your items and then use them, take them back to humanity or whatever they're doing. Just give this train a moment. To space station. Yeah. Onwards we go. Obviously I have a hypertube connection coming up here as well, so I can transfer here a bit quicker if I needed to. So once I'd finished building my starter factory, I then started the foundation for this the big tall building over there with bits all over it. I had an idea of producing all this tier 1 items on the bottom floor, and then gradually going up the tiers as we go through. As you can see, it kind of worked. We'll look inside it eventually. This building here is something I built more recently, so that's with my better building skills. This was more recently as well, but we'll keep looking over these things for the moment. This building you can see down here with all the conveyor lifts going up the side of it, that's my smelter. The one with all the chimneys coming out of it, those that will recognise them, that's a power facility, my early power facility with coal. Yeah, that's like my main starting area, my main factory area. We're now on our way up to well, where I mine Caterium, which is just on this little outcrop here in these waterfalls. Created myself a little pad to get down there when I was building it, and powered it separately for a time. A few other places where I've built bridges, etc., to go and get that box that was over there. But yeah, and then I eventually built a train railway. I did have a truck, I still have a truck that's running rubber and plastic through the forest between my facility up here and back to my main base. But yeah, there's a quality of life improvement that's coming that will help you build more like this, more straight sections of track without having those little S-bends in there that turn up now and again, which is going to be good. Then we're going to go along the beach. This is my old truck path. Oh, there's the truck. That truck is transparent porting, essentially following those arrows and this cable, the power cable down there. And this is where my oil rig and my second power plant is. Got a nice little bridge down there that I built for the truck. Nice-ish. But yeah, once we're here, we will have a little look around. Actually, no, we're just doing a train tour for now. We'll come back on the hypertube in a moment once we get back home. So yeah, this is the train station here, which loads, is it oil? It's purple oil? I can't remember. No, it's not oil, it's some kind of fuel. I can't remember which one it is. It's the purple one, whichever that is. It gets needed to be used for making explosives, essentially. Oil is in there, and it's making, we've got a plastic facility, rubber facility, fuel facility. We're going to go around the power facility in a second. So this is essentially my chemical plant, I guess. But I wanted to make like an oil rig, so it looks like it's being an oil rig. This is my power facility with fuel generators. They're all in there in their individual units. Then I've got my chemical producing factory here for plastics, etc. I say chemicals, fluids, that kind of stuff, byproducts. There's a whole system there going between buildings, and then that's the fuel production facility in there making standard fuel. I do want to make turbo fuel at some point, so I could probably make that on an offshoot, like over there or something. At some point. There's a truck going over the bridge. How nice, how quaint, how lovely. So this is going to be pretty much the same as on the way over. Usually this train would have filled that fuel tank on the back there, and it probably topped it off if it did need topping off. Most of the time it is going around with that pretty much full. This is taking the fuel back to my black powder assembly. So it's making like black powder, nobelisks, etc. that you can use for blowing things up, essentially. Be that creatures or rocks that are in the way, only specific rocks though. You can also, I think, use it for clearing foliage. Yeah, oh yeah, and also because my big power plant's up there, I've got pylons taking power back. I think that one's unnecessary. I think I only built that one because there wasn't enough length between the two. Right, that's a conveyor belt bringing Caterium all the way back because I just decided to use a conveyor rather than any kind of transport. Obviously exploiting as much of the resources and nodes that are around here as possible. Here we're going to park at the black powder facility, where this is then offloaded into that storage buffer up there, and then it's used to facilitate any construction that's going on in there, which isn't at the moment. It's all stalled because everything's full. So the next part of the track is just going back to where we got on. So I'm going to jump out here. No, I'm not going to jump out here actually. I'm going to carry on. Come on in, boop boop. Is that doing any transfer? Doesn't look like it. Don't think it needs to. So onwards we go. And we'll have a little explore. Yeah, my construction techniques, you'll probably, for anyone that's into the game, cheap viewers on, how about BAM? So yeah, that was my tier 3 construction facility, I think, where I made more advanced components manufacturers in there. That was an extra bolt-on. I only built that really to cover up the massive rock that was there. I didn't like the rock, it was in the way. Anyway, we're going to exit the train here, across the live wire in front of the train as it's about to move. So, first of all, we'll have a little ganders at the hypertube. No, we won't. No, we won't. We'll look at it in the order that I built stuff. I think that will work best. So like I said, originally I had a really crappy little factory. I say crappy, it was like baby's first factory that used to be here. And it used to make all the main tier 1, tier 2 components that were needed. But we moved on from that eventually. I eventually changed this area to be a train station and hypertube hub for transport, transporting goods, and a hub location, rather than having spaghetti essentially here, because then I moved on to then started building this big old factory over here. Quick word on this little Christmas event, since we're right next to it. So these trees, I think they produced presents, these little gifts, and those gifts could be used in conjunction with other stuff to be able to make other things, to eventually build this tree in many different stages. Which we did, which was good. That was good fun. Just, nice little distraction from the norm. But I left everything here, even though it looks weird and out of place. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep that here. This is a sink, so essentially any excess items, I haven't got everything hooked up to it, but any excess items from my lines that I need to keep producing, for example, to keep my fuel plant running, I need to keep producing plastic, rubber and certain other elements that are being transported away. So those items that are getting transported away, any overflows because the factory isn't running or I haven't been using it, then come down this spillway and come into my sink here. And this is an awesome sink. That is what it's called, and it is awesome, and it gradually churns away all your excess stuff and turns it into fix-it coupons. Those coupons you can use in the awesome shop, which is located over there, and you can buy extra bits and bobs. If I just show that quickly, you can print the coupons there. So we've got 28, so there we go, there's 28, put them in inventory, there they are, lovely jubbly. That's the sort button, isn't it? Cool, so we've got 28 fix-it coupons there. So I'm just going to launch myself over here, just show you where you can use those. You can build this little place called the awesome shop, and in here you can buy things like extra signs and components and bits and bobs for prettying up and making your stuff look good, plus also extra items that you don't get from unlocking normally. Hypertube parts, conveyor belt mountings, holes, etc. Pipelines. I'm on pipeline 2 now, so I didn't bother with pipeline mark 1. Let's just get it just for the sake of it. Foundation sets, different corners and stuff that you can make. These foundations you can then reskin with different colours. Well, not really colours, more like material types, I suppose, like concrete, plastic coated concrete and stuff. Walls, different wall things, windows, etc., doors, roofs, architecture, structural architecture parts, walkways, a ladder, railings, beams, etc. Customizing things, so you can have different, that's what I meant, the foundation materials. So you've got like coated concrete, grip metal and asphalt, plus different wall types as well. Specials is just like little extras you can get. So I've got boombox, which I've currently got on me, which is playing one of these tapes. You can get all these different tapes to play different music while you're playing around, because it can get a bit quiet at times, so it's good to have bits going on. Hopefully this music isn't too loud. I'm just going to have a quick check of that actually while I'm here, one moment. Right, I think my levels are good. My voice is coming over loud and clear over that, so that's fine. Okay, and also you can, buy extra bits and bobs and stuff if you need them. Don't know if everything's in here, and there's quite a few bits in here. But yeah, anyway, that's the thing. Then you go in here, you just make your purchase like an online shop in a way, just add to your basket and stuff. Cool. So let's go over to the start. Let's do things in the order that I built them. Sometimes that hover pack is a little annoying because you try and do the crouch jump. I've got to remember just to tap jump rather than hold it. Because if you sprint crouch jump, you go a lot further, you see, like this. Whereas if you just sprint and jump, it's just a little jump. But you crouch jump, propels you a bit further. Good little tip, especially when you've got the leg attachment. Okay, so my original factory, I brought loads of minerals down here to come into these first 2 doors. Other stuff's going to other things now. So far I didn't need to use this extra flow. I've got plenty coming in here for the moment for what's happening and what's being needs to be done. I say plenty, I could do with more iron because I could do with more screws. But anyway, now when this, first thing to say, it's a bit dark in here. When I first made this factory it was quite nicely lit up, but the game got an update, and I haven't, it got an update to lighting, and you know, so it was a lot prettier, and it is definitely an improvement. I do really enjoy it, but the only thing it was, for any factory that wasn't lit up with artificial lighting, yeah, as you can see, it got a bit dark in here. You can see I have put some lights in places, like important places, but for the main part I didn't really need to worry about what was here, so it was all working, it all happened. So here we've got iron ore coming in, and then over here we have iron ore coming in. We've got double iron coming along here. As you can see from those blueprints that I made before, you can see where I used them. I could have made this a lot more efficient and saved a lot more space, as I've now learned, but I'd already built it, it was here, it was doing what I needed it to do. As you can see, not super efficient, but it's doing the job. It's getting to the point now though, if I was to tier up on this map, then it would need to be either redesigned or have a lot more power shards to overclock and get better resources coming in so that it can operate, because it's operating underpowered essentially. Only the ones that show green, so you see these poles, they show yellow, green, red. Red means they're not happening, yellow means they're working, but I think not as efficient as they could. Green is when they're working at their best efficiency, I believe. I think that's what it is. Anyway, the materials come in, they get spread out between all the different smelters, come down the center and then get fed into each one. As you can see down there ish, it's a bit dark. It's a bit dark on stream, isn't it? It's hard to see. I got a flashlight, I can't remember. Flashlight, I think I do have some kind of flashlight. I can't remember what it is, what the button is. 1 second, let me find that out. Options, key bindings. Thought I had a light, I just can't remember what it was. Equipment, turbo base. Holograms. Player movement, menus, photo mode, vehicles, trains, build menu. Where was my light? I swear I had a light. I probably saw it just now and I just didn't see it. I thought I had a flashlight. Well, if I did have one, I don't know where it is. Sorry, guys. All right. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, the items once the iron ore is turned into ingots, it then comes along onto the centre here. Same for both sides, and then these all send all the ingots down here into storages, which is my storage buffers that are in the middle here. I'll outline them in case you can't see them very well. Part of the hypertube hub comes in here. Also from other parts of the factory, bits are coming into this hub. Just going to fly through here now. It's basically the same setup on this side, but this time with copper and with caterium, which are 2 other metallic ingots that we can make. Again, it's exactly the same design, just on the other side and with different ores, essentially. And again, these come from various places and then come in through the back here, and they come through and get distributed around the factory. Originally, I had my first power plant over here. This is an exit door to in between different parts of the factory here. We might see that again later. This is stairs and stuff to go up to the next floor. This was my way to get up and down the floors before making the hypertube hub. As you can see, it's just a spiral staircase going up to the top. We'll come down here. This was all because the ground changed elevation, so I had to bring this in so I didn't have stuff clipping through the walls. As you can see here, this is still very close to the ground, even a rock and some grass poking through on this part. Now we're going to go through here. Nice window to see what's going on outside. See some other stuff's moving around here, and I use this channel for transporting some other materials. In here, I've got a light that shines this up. This used to be my first power plant, and I had biomass burners lining in here that I would manually fill. I would go make loads of biomass, bring it down here, fill them all up, carry on doing work, keep the factory ticking over while things were going. But now they are power storages. As you can see, they're currently at 100%. You see my consumption right now is enough that it's covered by my production. My full capacity though is getting close, so you can see why I'm currently, as I mentioned earlier, there is something I'm currently building to upgrade my power. Anyway, there's a bunch of powers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got 14. So they're holding on to a bunch of power. If my production for some reason dipped below the consumption, then these power banks would engage and deposit power into my power system until I manage to get the system back up again. And then my next build after this, and building the bottom floor of the main factory, was then to build an upgrade to my power. As you can see, it has to be supplied with water and with coal. I'll have a look outside there in a moment. Again, still a bit dark. And this is my coal power plant facility. So these power plants obviously produce a bit more than what the old biomass burners did. And you can go, I haven't got them overclocked, so I managed to make do to start with just standard power. Just built a bunch of them. And then we've got here 6, 7, 8, 9, so 9 coal plants. You can just hear them whirring away. This one was after, I believe it was after the update, because I started putting lights on this one. It's either that or I've come along and plonked these in afterwards. I can't remember, it was a while ago. And then out here we will come to one of the fields, or some of the grazing lands where I've now built on. Obviously it was a undisrupted view previously, but now I've got a nice little conveyor belt running across the ground here. A few more in the distance as I'm taking advantage of all the nodes that are down there. Right, so we're coming down here, we're coming towards that black powder assembly and also to the foundry, which is in here. So I started trying to pretty things up, made little walkways around places, you know, just try and make it interesting. Bring a little bit of life to the factory, you know, as if it's like lived in, worked in, that kind of thing. As you can see here, my setup for bringing coal in. It comes down here from coal production. You saw the, well no you didn't because I wasn't displaying at the start, but where that coal comes from, it comes down past the blueprint designer, comes through that corridor we mentioned earlier, comes around the back here to feed these plants along with some pipes. We'll have a look down this walkway to start with. If anyone wondering why I'm holding this barrel nut around everywhere, it's because it's the one thing that doesn't take up as much view of my area. I think I can just holster, can't I? So I haven't played in a few months. Last time I played this I think it was June. Anyway, so as you can see here, the coal comes down the side. There's other materials for the factory going in there for other things, but that's where the coal comes from. Comes from there, comes over the 3 lines, coming over the top, come down here. And then we've got storage buffers to buffer the coal as well in case for any reason something gets disrupted. Also, yeah, water gets brought in here, it gets piped in. It goes through these wall holes and stuff and gets taken into the back of my machines in here. Rather than just splitting it on the inside, I split it on the outside, so that it then just all goes into the relative positions that it needs to. Again, it's a bit messy, but you know, this is the guts area. You know, inside, you know, things are supposed to be a lot cleaner when you're inside the buildings. Didn't like that rock clipping through, but unfortunately it was there and I just had to deal with it. Did I pause the music earlier or just turn it right down? Yeah, I did. Good. Yeah, my designing was getting a little bit better. This was based on a classic factory roof that you see in the UK, I guess. You probably see it in other places too. Unfortunately, the power things, they clip through. That never used to happen before when it was just the biomass burners in there. But these new ones are a bit tall, so yeah, they clip through a bit. That's based on like a classic factory roof. I work in an office and factory currently at the moment, so this kind of game for me and working at that place kind of really took a bit of inspiration, because that site's a little bit, where I work's a bit higgledy-piggledy. I mean, it's not, it's efficient, but I mean, as the site's built up, it's had extra buildings added and things, and that's kind of how I went with this, because that was my knowledge of factories, so I just kind of done that, and then I just had to figure out the logistics between the places, which ended up a little bit spaghettified. But it is what it is. It was fun enough for me. Anyway, so while we're here, we'll pop over to the black powder building. Now, this is something I built a little bit later, after this original thing was essentially, I think, fully built, the main factory over there. So I got a little bit more interesting with my designs. This one, I mean, it's nothing to brag about, it's nothing to write home about. I like having things having proper support, looking like they have proper support. Actually, I completely bypassed the foundry, but I'll go back there in a minute since I'm over here. But yeah, so it's got nice big supports that go into the ground, and those supports aren't hovering, you know, they're plugged into concrete bases and stuff, you know, because otherwise it just looks a bit weird if something's just hovering in midair. If I have got a flashlight and I've just been omitting and forgetting where it is, I do apologise. Yeah, that's a little underneath kind of exploration. Also, they've got a train track going back there, because that takes the train loop. Well, it used to just loop back and just do this run, and then I eventually extended it to go up to the space elevator. Anyway, yeah, they put some little zigzaggy bits in here with triangle foundation walls. And then to get this to work, I then spliced off of my original coal line, for example, to then bring coal into here and mix with sulfur to then make the explosive stuff that's in here. Okay, let's get in here. So this one is obviously, I made it when the lighting was different, and I started putting windows in, roof windows, and so lots of light can come in and we can actually see what's going on. This is all with the coated concrete, which is, I've always thought was quite nice and shiny. So over here we have the sulfur and coal coming in, as well as pipes, which get added together over here on these assemblers to make obelisks. What do they? I think the obelisks might be afterwards. Yeah, so they don't know those. So yeah, the sulfur and the coal go through these assemblers initially to make these bottles of black powder. Those bottles of black powder are then used, one over here, to make obelisks, and then they transport over there and get stored. And then it's also used in these three chemical factories, refineries, sorry, should I say. It all goes in the back there, along with, what's that? That's the fluid from above. And what's in the heavy oil residue? That's the one, the heavy oil residue. It's a byproduct of my plastic and rubber creation back at the refinery that we looked at a little bit at earlier. We will get back there. Anyway, they're producing smokeless powder, which then comes and stores over here, and then the obelisks combined with smokeless, for example, then create cluster obelisks, because they're just more fun. Yeah, I haven't made the sonic ones because, to me, I haven't really seen much of a use for the sonic ones other than for propelling things and blowing things away, like a repulsion wave kind of obelisk. Yeah, and then they're just getting stored in here. I should have a bunch on me, but I'm going to take a stack while I'm here. As you can see, as I take a stack, then the whole thing is going to wire into action. And it will start producing more. The 1.0 teasers, etc., that's been happening. Oh, sunset. This last week or two. There's going to be something that is going to essentially kind of replace static storaging. I mean, there'll still be a place for static storage, but there's going to be a new thing that you can essentially have a wireless inventory kind of thing. I won't go into it too much because we'll show that once we get to the it. If you've seen the videos already, then you know what I'm talking about. Right, so we're going to bomb it over here and have a look in the foundry. The only problem is the sun's going down, so the lighting might not be very good, which will be a shame. I have obviously, as you can see, made some lights in here. But what happens here, which I think I thought at the time was genius by me, was I brought the coal and iron that you needed to deposit, and I made this, what I thought at the time was very sweet. I mean, I think it's cool until you get to this bit, But yeah, it's basically a bunch of splitters, elevators, etc., bringing in different resources, and then putting iron and coal into each refiner underneath. And I just thought this was really cool, where I made a window and you can see all the lifts going up and down. Probably not going to be the best time to look at it now because it's night time, but there is some light in here, so it's not the end of the world. You can just see them out there, you know, as they're working. They're putting resources down, and they're making steel ingots. Lots of steel ingots. This side's more heavy because it's making steel frames or steel bars. What are they called? Steel beams. That's it. These are making steel beams over here, and then over here we are making the pipes, the construction steel pipes. There we go. And then both those products I produce then go flying out the room and off to areas of the factory where they're needed.